And let's also welcome into the conversation now Jeff Mendelsohn, Executive Director of Pro-Israel America, joining us from Washington, D.C. And Jeff, I want to get your reaction to President Biden's comment yesterday after his conversation with Benjamin Netanyahu, and that of the Biden administration to this conflict now between Israel and Hamas.
Well, thank you, Calev. It's a pleasure to be here with you again. First and foremost, I just want to say that we hope you and everyone at i24NEWS and your families are remaining safe. I know in watching the last few days, you've had to scramble a few times. So our thoughts and prayers are with you and everyone in Israel right now. The response by the Biden administration, I think has been discussed a little bit earlier today, has been positive. First and foremost, standing by Israel's right to defend itself while it's under a constant barrage of rocket attacks. The administration, even a few days ago, said that it's imperative that Hamas stop the rocket attacks and that Israel has a right to defend itself. And those are very, very welcome comments.
Right. Now, let's broaden it out, though, to Congress, because there are other elements in the Democratic Party who feel differently from President Biden, and you could say more sympathetic to the Palestinian cause. They are pressing him. I mean, how much impact do you think that pressure would have, for example, on the administration or within the Democratic Party?
Well, we certainly hope it does not have undue influence. First and foremost, the majority of Congress on both sides of the aisle continues to stand with Israel, which is America's most important ally in the region, supports the U.S.-Israel relationship, and supports Israel's right to defend itself. As you mentioned, there is a small number of members of Congress, very vocal, get a lot of press attention, but who are blaming Israel for what's going on. I would refer to them as the Blame Israel Caucus in Congress. But it is small, it is vocal, and I believe that their attitudes are misguided and wrong and actually undermine peace and security in the region.
Well, I want to go to Jeff Mendelsohn, because we discussed the political debate in Washington, but also there is also public diplomacy. We've seen either you want to call it either anti-Israel or pro-Palestinian demonstrations, for example, outside the embassy and consulate. How much is that playing out there in the U.S. right now?
Well, we've seen protests and counter-protests here, but I think the important thing is to focus on the reaction by our government officials, our elected officials, and the role that Congress plays. I think it's also very important to remind people exactly who Hamas is. I think there's a lot of misinformation out there, misunderstanding out there. Hamas is a terror organization. It's backed by Iran. Iran is watching very closely how Israel defends itself, how Israel reacts to this barrage of rockets. Hezbollah on the northern border, of course, is also very likely watching this closely to see how Israel reacts. Hezbollah maintains a huge arsenal, as you know, of rockets that have greater firepower and more precision than Hamas. And Hezbollah is a proxy of Iran. So we need to focus public attention on these security issues, both the immediate security issue of stopping the rockets and the broader strategic concerns.
All right.